We have finally seen Acolyte Episode 4, and while the story itself is not much to talk about, some of the implications for Star Wars in general leave us a little confused. So this is the way that Star Wars dies. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is a guy who watched The Acolyte, Mr. VashSky. Are you okay?
Jonas, why does it have to be so bad? Like, it can't just be like a little bad. No, it has to be dreadful and awful. Oh my goodness gracious. I suppose we'll get into it, but yeah, it's just a bore.
It really is. This episode is, okay, so first the 2 episodes, we're introduced to the entire situation. There are twins. Whether or not the twins are alive is a question from episode to episode, even though no one has any question that they are alive because the whole thing is about twins. And then episode 3 is the ascension of those twins. Some coven of witches is doing some ceremony to incorporate them, and then the Jedi come in and tell them, hey, don't do that. And one of the twins decides to murder the other and also burn down the entire facility. And I don't know, it actually sounds more interesting describing it than it does appear on screen. The acting is very flat. There's not a lot to speak of here as far as performances, other than Jung-jae. And I wonder if the language barrier is actually helping him a little, that maybe he doesn't understand that the dialogue is awkward, and he's just going ahead and saying it with the tone he would if it were well spoken in Korean. I don't know. This whole thing is just, it's like a first draft. Like they put together the storyboards and said, let's just go ahead and shoot this. Let's go for it.
Right. Well, and there are bizarre choices as well. Like, for example, I guess spoilers here, but there's a moment in which May just completely flips on a dime from, okay, I'm on this revenge path. I've already, killed or at least enticed somebody to self-delete themselves on this war path because of what has been wronged to me. But now that I know that Osha's alive, which I don't even know why she wouldn't even know that Osha's alive. It's not like she's been hiding. Now, because my sister's alive, oh well, this changes everything. I'm just gonna go ahead and just completely reverse course. I mean, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, there's nothing that happens that actually says she realizes halfway through the episode if her sister is alive, then she can go hang out with her sister. And she can turn herself in over to the Jedi. The Jedi that I think they're going to imply that the Jedi killed all of her family in all of this. Either she killed all of her family or the Jedi killed all of her family. So right. There are so many questions here, and they're not questions like enticing mystery questions like, ooh, who did it? It's more like none of the options look that enticing from a story standpoint. If there's supposed to be a mystery box here, I'm fine leaving that thing how it is. It may have spoiled. I'd rather just throw it out. It's just not enticing. In fact, there is a death in this episode, and it's completely boring because they left it off screen. Okay, spoilers for whoever happens to be watching this review and wants to watch The Acolyte. You can go watch it. It's on Disney Plus right now. That's the closest to advertising Disney Plus that I'm going to get on this channel. Kelnaka, the Wookiee, which has appeared in, I want to say, a grand total of 3 scenes in this entire 4 episodes. So maybe 5 if you count stirring a pot menacingly early in the episode before they just want to make sure that that's Kelnaka there. For some reason there's witch runes on the side of this pot. I don't know if that's going to get explained. I don't care if it gets explained, but showed up at the flashback scene, showed up in one shot to, I guess, take out some marauders that happened to come near his or they's house. Yes, we're going to talk about that addition to the Star Wars universe as well. And then there's a lightsaber slash through the chest, not even in a way that I think would be fatal, but they don't show it. They don't show it in this $180 million show. They don't show the death of Kelnaka. The girl just comes upon him. And by the way, here's the writer of the episode, C.K. Keichel. Forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Claire. Unfortunately, not everything gets to be included for budget and story reasons. We had an early draft that showed his fight and death scene, but it ultimately broke the point of view of the episode in a way that I think wouldn't have worked as well. By the way, never got a chance to see the Wookiee Jedi fight. Shame on you. This from Desert Daddy there. That would have been interesting.
But yeah, I mean, that would have been very, very interesting. Could have done something. Well, here's the thing, too. So Kelnaka, he exiled himself, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
and that's why he's on Kofor or whatever.
Yeah, Kofor. What a wonderful name for a planet. There's so many strange little things that we still don't understand. All of these Jedi living in exile or taking a vow of silence or whatever. I forget the name of the white Jedi with the weird baldness pattern that decides to drink the poison and end things early.
Yes.
He put himself in exile. I'm assuming it's going to be related to the story, unless there's some other thing that they're going to throw in here. No, it was some other tragic incident that he decided to do this for. But first of all, seemed to wait 6 years before he did it, and then he decided to take a vow of silence and dedicate himself to meditating in the Force until he medicated himself out of the Force.
Well, yes, and you have that, and then we have also Kanaka, who's been completely off the radar, even though some people on this planet know where he is, and others don't, I suppose.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is that why does May seek out the Wookiee after she turns? I never really understood that. Shouldn't she seek out the Jedi, and yet she runs away from the Jedi, even though she's like, "Hey, I know who you're after," kind of thing.
There's also some confusion because it seems like first of all, they show up on the planet. You have a spaceship shot, and I didn't know who was going to be coming out of the spaceship because I guess I wasn't following that closely. I think I was actually following pretty closely, but the spaceship lands, and then they do a circle wipe to show 20 minutes later May, who's the evil one, and also Manny Jacinto's character, who is the apothecary from a few episodes ago, which there's no reason given for why he's following her in any way or why he was hiding as an apothecary in the previous episode. This guy is just there for no reason, and they're just hanging out talking about what they're about to go do. First of all, the wipe it's just a zoom in and 20 minutes later. This is not usually how Star Wars handles wipes. It's usually to a different location. There's maybe something visually a little bit different between the two locations that you're wiping between. So it's not like sand to sand. It might be sand to a different location with a little bit more blue sky, so it's clear. Maybe they didn't have enough budget to go down to do a shot of them actually exiting the spaceship. I don't understand anything about what's going on here, but the Jedi, and we're going to talk about why the Jedi are there in just a few moments. The Jedi are on the planet looking for what I assumed was looking for Kelnaka, and they have some kind of a searcher, he or they, that is with them, that is named Basil. And by the way, when Osha asks for he or they's pronouns, because you say, is he or they blah, 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 there's no direct answer given. So I guess they don't actually respect whatever Basil's pronouns are. There's so many strange things, but they take a piece of cloth and they stick it in Basil's face, and Basil is supposed to go searching. But they also say Kelnaka is in the forest, and then Saul looks at the forest and says, he's in there. And they just said he's in there. I don't understand. Why is the same information being given? Except it turns out that maybe Basil was looking for May. I don't understand any of this. You have the same people who are not on the same team ending up in the same place over and over and over again. I just don't get it. This is too convenient.
Far too convenient. And you have to wonder about certain like, why not search on the ship? Why not have somebody back at the ship? Why conduct a party that's so large in one direction? There are some things in which it's like, okay, if you were writing this, if you were thinking about this logically, you wouldn't necessarily do them in this way. Now, you mentioned the pronoun thing, Jonas. I didn't show you this before the show, so I'm going to show it to you now. Even Polygon, not necessarily impressed with how they handled pronouns in this show. So,
wow.
Even the people that they're trying to necessarily placate with some of their creative decisions aren't necessarily doing that, as you see right here.
The funny thing about pronouns, they're also what you use to refer to someone when they're not in the room. So they don't necessarily come up. So at least she wasn't talking to Basil or whatever this guy's name is, or girl. They never specifically confirm it, although Yord does call Basil a he at some point. I don't know. I'm trying not to be too mean with this, because if you come from a bizarre culture where this is something that is like a holy sacrament to them, then okay, I get it being important to you. But sticking it in Star Wars is so strange. I really don't get it. Another thing that is worth bringing up, since we're on that subject, there is a little bit of a strange flirtation going on between Osha and Jecki. Jackie being the girl played by Daphne Keane. Now, there is some question about the age ranges here, but let's go ahead and talk about this. The Acolyte just got more queer. Daphne Keane confirms Jackie Lawn, for some reason I thought her name was Jackie No, which is even more awkward, is crushing on Amandla Stenberg's Osha, this by Megan O'Keefe from Decider. I'm so happy that you asked this because this is my favorite question ever. Acolyte star Daphne Keane gushed when Decider asked her just this question last month. I think for Jackie, it's very confusing because a Jedi, you're not allowed to have feelings for other people. Attachments, Keane's Acolyte star Charlie Barnett clarified. And I think she does, Keane said. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I think she does. There's a lot of things that go on like this in Star Wars where the actors are contemplating whether or not their characters are gay for each other. I don't, again, why was this added into the press tour? We can only speculate based on the fact that interview with The Wrap that asked Leslie Headland and Amandla Stenberg whether or not this was the gayest Star Wars show ever. Vash, by the way, do you believe the maybe jokes, maybe not, that C-3PO and R2-D2 are either a couple or C-3PO is gay or that R2-D2 is canonically a lesbian?
No, I've never subscribed to anything about the droids because the droids, they don't have genders. It's programming. It's they're not sentient beings. I don't quite understand that whole concept really. I guess I'm just divorced from it in some way. But look, it's the month of June. I get it. We're making the push. And that's probably why this didn't actually come out on May the 4th, but actually June the 4th, right? They're moving it specifically towards that place. And well, that also tells you too what they are prioritizing, right? If they were prioritizing Star Wars, which this is supposed to be, maybe it would come out on May the 4th, but obviously they have priorities here. And here's the thing too. I mentioned Star Wars for a reason. This is supposed to be Star Wars. You can't have this without the war. And yet we only get 2 action scenes in this episode, which I guess is
what were they?
The course for this whole.
I forget which ones they were.
Well, it's so you got the bug, and then you have right, and then you have the last cliffhanger, I suppose.
Oh yeah. And again, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched this. Whoever the person who is pulling the strings shows up, and I mean they're a good. Maybe they might even be 30 feet away when they show up. In the background of the shot, there's in the middle is Osha, and I always have to correct myself because I never can remember which one is Osha and which one is May. By the way, I'm just going to throw this up here. This from Release the McCracken. I'm not the original discoverer of this, but I think it's funny. There is a makeup line called Osha May. So yeah. Osha is standing in the middle here, and there's like half a dozen to a dozen Jedi, and on the other side is whatever this person, Valiant calls them Smilo Ren, because it's just a helmet that has something like a zipper looking thing that looks like a smile, slowly walks towards Osha and then ignites a lightsaber. And when I say slowly, it's very slow, and there is no one reacting whatsoever, and the Jedi are looking the entire time. I don't understand any of it. I don't understand why anyone would react the way that they're reacting. Also, not a very menacing figure, whoever this is. And it's a single shot, so not even cuts to the side, a cut to show him walking through something that looks like mist, maybe a shot to break it up of the footsteps no, it's a very, very muddy shot with low contrast. And okay, I guess this is the evil person.
Well, they did bring out their lightsaber.
They did bring out a red lightsaber.
If it wasn't abundantly clear that this was the evil person, well then there you go. But yes, there's no suspense, there's no setup. The camera shots are very mundane, which is really unfortunate right there. And they kind of like float into existence, which is really amusing, I suppose. But I think a lot of people are speculating that this might be the apothecary character that you were talking about before, and it kind of makes sense, I suppose, because I guess there's no reason for the master of the one pulling the strings to be there otherwise, I guess. Right.
So at the exact moment that they decide that they're not going to go through with whatever the master's plan is, but it sounds like the master's plan is for Kelnaka to be murdered. Well, before she gets there to murder Kelnaka is already murdered. So that person would have to already have known that May was not going to murder Kelnaka, or maybe was setting them up. By the way, you're not supposed to do with it with a saber or steel. So I don't know. This is so confusing. Like, I don't know what's plot, what is supposed to be set up for something that Osha is supposed to do. They haven't made it clear why May was doing any of the things that she was doing, or why she decided that she wanted to kill her sister, or for those reasons, why she decided that no, she wants to do the other thing. Nothing makes any sense whatsoever. It just feels like we want this to happen, therefore X, and then, and no therefores.
Yes. No therefores, no because, no buts, that kind of thing. And that's kind of the real frustrating thing about this, is because things just happen, Perfect example of this. Why is Osha in another outfit for this? Like, that has no explanation, just to kind of, make her look frumpy, which is, they do the Rose Tico thing with Osha, which is just...
Right, and Amandla Stenberg is a pretty girl. There's really no reason for her to be in such. I guess they're putting her in a flight suit or whatever. Put her in this ridiculous wig, and they put May and Osha in the same ridiculous wig. There might be some slight differences there, but they gave the same. It looks like Dave Chappelle's Rick James wig from back in the day. It really makes no sense. Okay, we're gonna separate this out into another video, because we do need to talk about Ki-Adi-Mundi and what in the world is going on there. It looks like they're making some changes to the canon, and it really makes no sense. And we're going to talk about a little fan war that happened last night. We've got some evidence of that. But Vash, what would you rate this episode of The Acolyte?
I'm going to say it too, because I thought the previous one was pretty egregious. I mean, that had to be a 1 right there, but this is going to be a 2 for me, just because there seemed to be a little bit more effort involved, at least in the setting, location, and everything like that. But man, the writing is terrible. The characterization, the cinematography took a step backward. It's just so weird. Got to be a 2.
Yeah, I'm going to be very generous and give it a 3. So far, episodes 1 and 2, I rated them together as a 5 for putting everything on screen, and then a 4 for the next one, and then here we are with this one. I hope the next one's not a 2. I really want this to improve, because it's not even to the point where it's so bad it's good. It's more fun to talk about it than it is to watch the show. But that being said, we want to throw this to our commenters. Have you watched the show? What do you think about it? Let us know your thoughts, and please let us know what you think about what's going on with Ki-Adi-Mundi before we get that episode up here on That Park Place. Thank you so much. Like this video if you like this video, and consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.